There are moments in life when everything suddenly starts changing. People begin leaving, plans stop working, doors you thought would open suddenly close, and in the middle of it all you feel confused, maybe even lost. But what if those moments are not happening to break you? What if they are happening because God is about to change your life forever? Throughout the Bible, the biggest transformations never came during comfortable seasons. They came during moments of uncertainty, moments where nothing made sense. So if you've been feeling like your life is shifting in ways you don't understand, this message might not be a coincidence, because today we're going to talk about 5 powerful signs that God may be preparing to change your life forever. And the last one might be the most important sign of all. The truth is, when God begins preparing someone for a new chapter in life, the process rarely feels comfortable. In fact, it often feels confusing. Things that once felt normal suddenly begin to feel different. Situations you were used to no longer bring the same peace. And the direction your life seemed to be going in may suddenly start shifting. You may start questioning why certain things are happening, why certain doors are closing, or why certain people are no longer part of your life. And in those moments, it can feel like everything is falling apart. But throughout history, this has often been the way God prepares people for transformation. Before Joseph rose to power, he faced betrayal and imprisonment. Before Moses led his people to freedom, he spent years wandering in the wilderness. And before David became king, he went through seasons of isolation and hardship. The point is, major change often begins with uncomfortable seasons. And if you've been experiencing certain patterns in your life lately, it may not be random. It may be a sign that God is quietly preparing you for something greater. One of the first signs that God may be preparing to change your life is a deep sense of restlessness that slowly begins to grow inside you. At first, it may be difficult to explain. From the outside, your life might appear completely normal. Nothing dramatic may have happened yet, but internally, something begins to feel different. Things that once satisfied you no longer bring the same sense of peace. Goals that once felt exciting suddenly start to feel empty. Even routines that used to feel comfortable may now feel limiting. You may begin waking up with a quiet feeling that something in your life is meant to change. And sometimes that feeling can be confusing because you may not yet know what direction God is leading you toward. You only know that where you are right now no longer feels the same. Many people describe this moment as a quiet inner pull, almost like a gentle voice inside their heart, telling them that their current season is coming to an end. This restlessness doesn't always appear all at once. It often grows slowly. Day by day, you begin noticing that your desires are changing. Your perspective begins shifting. The things you once prioritized may no longer hold the same importance. And while this feeling can be uncomfortable, it often appears right before major life transitions, because before God changes your circumstances, He often begins by changing your heart. He prepares you internally, long before the external changes begin to happen. And that deep restlessness you feel may not be a sign that something is wrong. Sometimes, it's the very first sign that God is preparing to move your life in a completely new direction. Another powerful sign that God may be preparing to change your life is when certain people begin leaving your life. Sometimes this happens suddenly. A relationship that once felt strong begins to fade. Communication becomes less frequent, and the connection that once felt natural slowly begins to disappear. Other times it happens more quietly. You may notice that you and certain people simply begin moving in different directions. Conversations don't feel the same anymore. Shared interests begin to fade, and the bond you once had slowly becomes weaker. At first, many people see this as a loss. They wonder what went wrong. They question whether they did something to cause the distance. And they may even try to hold on to the relationship, hoping things will go back to the way they used to be. But sometimes the reason people leave our lives has nothing to do with failure. Sometimes it happens because their role in our journey has already been fulfilled. Throughout life, different people are meant to walk beside us during different seasons. Some are meant to support us during difficult moments. Some are meant to teach us lessons we could not learn any other way. and others are simply meant to be part of our story for a short period of time. But when God begins preparing you for a new chapter, the people connected to your previous season may no longer fit into the path ahead, and so without force, without conflict, and sometimes without a clear explanation, they begin to drift away. While this can feel painful in the moment, many people later realize that certain relationships had to end in order for new opportunities, new connections, and new directions to enter their lives, because sometimes, before God brings the right people into your future, He first removes the ones who were only meant to be part of your past. Another powerful sign that God may be preparing to change your life is when certain doors begin closing around you. These are opportunities you once believed would work out, plans you were certain would succeed, paths you expected to walk. Situations that once seemed promising suddenly begin falling apart. At first, these moments can feel extremely discouraging. You may question why something you worked hard for is no longer working. You may wonder why opportunities you believed were meant for you suddenly disappear. And sometimes it can feel like every direction you try to move in somehow becomes blocked. But many people eventually realize something important about these moments. Not every closed door is meant to stop you. Sometimes a closed door is meant to redirect you. Because when God is preparing to change your life, He may begin closing the paths that are not aligned with where you are meant to go next. The job you thought you needed may fall apart. The opportunity you were counting on may disappear. The situation you believed would define your future may suddenly end. And while these moments can feel frustrating or confusing, they often serve a deeper purpose, because if those doors had remained open, you might have continued walking down a path that was never meant to lead you to your true purpose. Closed doors can feel like rejection in the moment, but many times they are actually protection. They prevent you from settling into a life that is smaller than the one God is preparing you for. And sometimes, the doors that close are simply making space for a completely different door, one that you may not even see yet. Another sign that God may be preparing to change your life is when you begin feeling pulled towards something new, even if you don't fully understand what it is yet. This feeling can appear slowly. You may begin thinking about different possibilities for your life. New ideas may start entering your mind, or you may find yourself becoming curious about paths you never seriously considered before. Sometimes it starts as a small thought that keeps returning, a dream that won't leave your mind, a direction that continues to appear in your thoughts, or a sense that you are meant to move towards something unfamiliar. At first, many people hesitate to take these feelings seriously. They assume it's just their imagination. They tell themselves they are overthinking things, or they try to ignore the feeling altogether. But when God begins guiding someone toward a new chapter, the direction often begins internally before anything changes externally. The idea keeps appearing, the desire becomes stronger, and the thought of moving in that direction begins to feel less like a random idea and more like a calling. You may begin noticing opportunities connected to that direction. Conversations may start pointing you toward it. Situations may arise that make the possibility seem more real. And even though the path may still feel uncertain, something inside you begins telling you that you are meant to move forward. This internal pull is often one of the ways people begin recognizing that their life is shifting. Because when God prepares someone for change, He doesn't only close old doors, He also begins revealing new directions. And sometimes that new direction begins as a quiet idea that slowly grows stronger until it becomes impossible to ignore. The final sign that God may be preparing to change your life forever is something many people describe as a quiet sense of peace, even while everything around them feels uncertain. On the surface, your life may still feel unstable. You may not know exactly where you are going next. Plans may still be unclear. And some of the changes happening around you may still feel confusing, but deep inside, something feels different. Instead of constant fear, there is a strange calmness. Instead of panic about the future, there is a quiet belief that things will eventually work out. This kind of peace doesn't always make logical sense, because normally, when people face uncertainty, they feel anxiety. They worry about what will happen next. They become overwhelmed by the unknown. But when God is guiding someone into a new season, many people experience a different kind of feeling. Even though they may not fully understand what is happening, something inside them continues to say, "Keep going." That peace becomes a quiet reassurance that the changes unfolding in their life are not random. They are part of something bigger. It's the feeling that even though the road ahead may still be unclear, you are being guided. And that sense of peace often becomes the strongest confirmation that the season you are entering is not meant to harm you, but to transform you. Because when God prepares to change your life, the path may begin with uncertainty, but it is often accompanied by a quiet confidence that you are being led exactly where you are meant to go. Change is rarely comfortable. When God begins shifting your life in a new direction, the process can often feel confusing at first. Things you once depended on may begin to disappear. People you expected to stay may slowly walk away, and paths you once believed were meant for you may suddenly close. In those moments, it's easy to believe that something is going wrong. But many times, those very moments are the beginning of something far greater than you can currently see. Because throughout life, the greatest transformations rarely begin with certainty. They often begin with seasons of transition, moments where the old chapter is ending, but the new chapter has not fully revealed itself yet. If you are experiencing some of the signs we talked about today, it may not be random. The restlessness you feel, the people leaving your life, the doors that are closing, the new direction pulling at your heart, and the quiet peace you feel, even in the middle of uncertainty. These may all be signs that your life is being prepared for something different, something that requires you to step beyond the life you have known so far. Sometimes the changes we fear the most are actually the ones that lead us to the life we were meant to live. So if you are in a season where things feel uncertain, try to remember this. Not every change is meant to break you. Some changes are meant to guide you exactly where you are supposed to go. And sometimes, the very things leaving your life today are simply making room for the future that is waiting ahead.